Hi guys, now I'm going to tell you how I got fired from my job. The job that I had was an airport job. It was a union job, which means that it's guaranteed 40 hours a week and it's high pay. So that means it was a good job because everywhere else is paying way less than what that job was paying, especially where I live. Minimum wage where I live is only around $15 an hour. Where I was working, it was $20 an hour. And I got fired from that job, and it's crazy because I really sometimes I enjoyed doing it, sometimes I hated doing it, but it was a job that taught me a lot to, it kept me moving, kept me productive, and I liked working, so therefore the money was good as well. Every week you got paid, you knew you were going to get paid every single week, every Friday. So it was a good way to make money, just making sure that you're financially independent. Now, how I got fired. When I was hired, I was scheduled with a 8 a.m. shift to 4:30 p.m. shift. Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sundays off. That is basically the 9 to 5 schedule Monday through Friday, the dream schedule that everybody wants. I was lucky enough to get that schedule right off the gate. So now they told me that my shift was subject to change any given time without my consent or anything. They can just change it whenever they feel like they can. So 3 weeks in, they changed my schedule from 8 to 12. So now my shift starts at 12 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And I'm like, why would they just change it? Because I'm going to work normally Monday through Friday, and now I'm not on the schedule. So I asked the supervisor why I'm not on the schedule. They say because your schedule has changed. But they let me slide because I was on probation. I'm still 3 months in, and I'm already used to waking up at 6 a.m. in the morning to get ready for work. And now I got to refix my body sleep schedule to adjust to 12 p.m. in the afternoon. So 3 months goes by. I'm off of probation. Now, the managers were still okay with my 8 to 4:30 until some other manager who was not okay with it for some reason. She is literally disrespectful. She doesn't like you. She doesn't like anybody at the job. I don't know why. Who knows? Me, I show respect to people who respect me. And if they disrespect me, I disrespect them. But sometimes at the workplace, you don't really give out your disrespect because then you end up getting fired regardless anyway. And so I let it be. I just don't mind her. I don't pay her any mind. So she ended up telling the higher up that my schedule is not my schedule. And they brought me into the office and saying, hey, what's your schedule? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I was telling them, like, nobody told me anything when I got hired. So I didn't know the rules of this place because they just hired me. They put me there and then they just let me loose. And then that's it. Every time I had a problem, I always had to go to the office to the manager to get everything sorted out, which was very annoying. They should have already had everything sorted out for me before I even didn't have to ask any question. And soon as my schedule got changed from 12 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., I was okay with that schedule. The only difference was I was off Tuesday and Wednesday instead of Saturday and Sunday, which is okay for me because I don't really do anything on my days off anyway, but besides rest because I didn't have enough money to really go anywhere anyway because the job wasn't paying much. Now, here comes the reason why I got fired. The reason why I got fired was because everybody has a bid that is coming up. So instead of them letting me have my schedule till the bid comes up, they change it automatically. Which every other supervisor told me that they should have just let you stay until the next bid, because then your schedule is going to be changed fully. So be it, right? But they didn't let me do that. That's red flag number one. Red flag number two was when it came to me getting my schedule, the new one, they put me at a number that was so low. So basically, everybody has seniority. So every employee has a number that gives them priority access to the desirable shifts that you want. And there's desirable shifts and then there's least desirable shifts that people basically can't do or they don't want. And that's the shift that I ended up with. So basically, all the shifts that they had left all the morning shifts were taken by midday because it's about like almost 300 employees. And the shift that they had left for me was 2 to 10:30 p.m., which I could do. There was 4:30 p.m. to 12:30 p.m., which I couldn't do. They had 5:30 to 1:30 p.m. next day, 12:30 p.m. next day. And then they had 6:30 to 3:30 p.m. next day. Now, I originally picked 2 to 10:30 because I could get home at about 11:30, 12 o'clock. I'll be home safe. But where I live in Long Island. And where the job was in Jamaica, Queens, New York. So all the way in New York City. So basically a 1 hour commute. So if I was to get off, they ended up calling me to the office telling me that I picked 2 p.m. to 10:30. That was not the shift that was supposed to be given to me. It was supposed to be given to somebody else who had higher priority access over me. So they ended up switching me with that person. And that person ended up telling me on my last day at work saying, hey, you could have that 2 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. back. I shrugged my shoulders and I said, this is already my last day. There's nothing I could do about it. So that's the end all be all for that story. That's the second red flag number 2. As in, they called me to the office telling me I couldn't even do a schedule. Now, the only schedule that they had left, the earliest was 4 p.m. to 12:30 p.m. next day. So I picked the schedule, but I had already told my parents that that schedule was too late for me to come home, and meaning that the fact that I live all the way in Jamaica, New York. I mean, I live all the way in Long Island, New York, and Jamaica is in 1 hour away. That means I'm gonna get off at 12:30 p.m. That means I'm gonna have to take an air train to the, from the airport, the air train to Jamaica, Queens, to the train station, from the train station to Hempstead train station for me to go home. By 12:30 time I get off, I'm not gonna get home until 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, my sister gets off work at 11 p.m. My mom also gets off work at 11 p.m. My parents normally fall asleep around 9:30, 10 o'clock. So that means nobody's gonna be around to come pick me up from work. So my sister's not gonna get off of work and come drive all the way to JFK from where she works at to come pick me up. It might be an extra 30 minutes of gas money to come get me, to come drop me home. And I don't think she would want to even try to do that. So there was no point in me just staying at a job just because of money. Like, the money's not even a lot anyway to begin with. So that's why I was like, there's no point. I'm just gonna leave. And that was maybe God telling me to leave that job because that job was so toxic. Like, everybody was not always, good with each other. People would curse each other out. There was people bickering, fighting over each other. It was so toxic, and that's like the age group. It's like some are 50, some are 20, some are 30. So it was just so weird to be around that environment. And I worked outside, so it was very cold. Some days it was very cold outside, some days it was very hot outside. And imagine you're lifting up luggages and you're putting them in the car and you're sweating bullets on your face and you feel like the heat is kicking to you to the point where if you don't drink water, you're going to end up passing out because of how much hard work that you're doing. Somebody died at my job on the clock, and I had to witness police trying to do CPR on his chest, and he's not moving a single inch after they're pumping, and he ended up dying right there in the scene. So that's why it's like I had to leave because it was too much, Like, when people look at me and they see that I'm working at the airport, they think like, oh, you're traveling. I'm like, nah, just because you work a 9 to 5 at the airport does not mean that you get to travel the world and get discounts on flights. I'm thinking like, oh, okay, I got a job at the airport. I'll be able to travel and have discounts. They told me that you're not going to get no discounts because you work for an agency, not the company airline. The company airline does give discounts, but they pay less. The agency pays more so that they don't have to give you a discount. So I'm thinking as soon as I get hired, oh, I'm going to get a discount. Nah. So now everybody's looking at me for a discount. I'm like, nah, there ain't no discounts over here, And that's another thing. You got to watch out for people that only want to be around you for the discount. If they automatically ask you for a discount, that means they're only going to use it for a discount. So make sure that you watch those type of people. But me getting fired like that, I had to speak to the manager. I told him, I said, hey, 4 p.m., the shift that I have, me coming home transportation wise is not going to work out for me. Is there any other thing that I could do? He looked at me dead in the face and he shrugged his shoulders. Like he didn't care. He's like, that's all the shifts that I have. It's either you do that shift or you leave. And I said, I guess I'm going to have to tell HR. He said, yep. He didn't care. He looked at me with a straight face and did not care at all. He didn't do anything. He didn't say, oh, I'm going to see if somebody else could switch with you. You couldn't switch with nobody. The only time you could switch with somebody is if somebody had the same kind of shift as you. So if you had a night shift, you could only switch with night shift and overnight. You couldn't switch with no night shift to morning. So it was just so bad for me. And I'm thinking like, oh man, if I leave this job, I'm not going to get another job, because the only jobs that were there was seasonal jobs. So every seasonal retail job that was paying $16 an hour, 15, those were the only jobs that were available at that time because of holiday season. And if I was supposed to get a job for the seasonal holidays, just for them to let me go in around January 1st or December of 28th, it would make no sense for me to even work a job right now. So I just said, you know what? Hey, God, if you want me not to work, then this is my sign not to work. But I just took it and I said, I might not have no savings. I might not have no job, no backup plan, but I'm going to have to just quit because no job is worth my life. So that's why I ended up leaving. I just had to leave and trust God that He would supply me with what I need when I need it. I have my roof over my head. I have my family that take care of me. So I'm pretty grateful for that. But it's been tough. It's been tough mentally because every Friday that comes, you're expecting to get a paycheck, and then you don't get a paycheck no more because you haven't worked. And I realized that you only make money when you're on the clock. If you're not on the clock, you're not going to make money. So I realized if I could just make my YouTube blow up for some reason, it might not happen overnight, but if I could just make it blow up, then I'll be happy, because I'm not trying to make a lot of money off of YouTube. I just want to make enough to still have freedom and to still be able to do stuff and say that I still work for myself, because that's the goal. Because I remember when I was working, I would hate Mondays. Like, I hated every Monday. Like, because the flights were so rough. Like, the flights would be so heavy, so sore. I even gained muscle at the job because I was very skinny. I was 120 pounds. Like, I gained a little bit of muscle working there just because of how intense the job was. It was just you doing so much energy. Like, you needed your whole body to be there. Like, if you were tired, you could not do your job, because if you're not awake enough, then you're not gonna miss everything, and then the supervisor's gonna come at you saying, "Hey, why are you sleeping on the job?" You couldn't be on your phone, but only managers could be on their phone, and that was the worst part. It's like, how can you be on your phone, but I can't be on my phone? It makes no sense. I always had to sneak my phone around, watch out for a manager. Managers will always catch me, but they would never write you up for it. But every job has strict rules, so it's like I want to be my own boss one day and just make my own money at my own terms and be able to travel and be able to do stuff that I actually enjoy doing, instead of me just living life in a circle of doing the same miserable thing over and over again. Because that's where I felt like I was miserable, I was depressed, I was stressed. My room was always a mess. I never had time to clean my room because I was working 40 hours a week, and then by the time my days off would come, I was so tired that I didn't want to do anything. So I stayed in bed all day, just eat, watch TV, sleep, rest. And that was it, because that job was basically like the gym to me. I even had a gym membership. I stopped going to the gym because that job was literally like a gym, because I was lifting heavy bags every day to work. And it was just too much for me sometimes because I'm very skinny. So, but I stayed there for about 8 months. It was a good job. It kept me motivated to keep on working, and I started doing motivational speaking. And yeah, that job was good, but I got fired because I felt like they didn't care. They didn't care about you. You were just a number as an employee there. Like, they did not care if you were sick. Maybe if you fell down one day, they would probably come and talk to you, be like, why? Because you show it on your face, but they didn't care. So you were just a number. And the thing is, when you quit, you'll be replaced right then and there, because they're always hiring people. They hire you in groups. They do group trainings when they hire you. So first, and it was a lot, because to get hired, when you get hired, you pass the interview, and then you have to go through series of online training. Just you have to spend like 1 or 2 days just doing training, like 8 hours each. You get paid for your training, which is like the easiest part about it. You just click videos, you watch it, take a little test, and then you get hired. And then they put you out on the ramp, and then you start doing training for the ramp, and then you start doing training for laterals. Systems is where you put the luggage in the car, and ramp is when you are in the airplane and you do everything that it requires for the airplane to safely land and safely come and take off to its next destination. They had managers for outside and both inside. So, and they also had carts where you had to drive. You drive the tugs, that's what they call them. It was cars, and it was a cool job. There was cool people there. You learned a lot, but once you feel as if you're not learning anything at your job and you're just doing the same old job over and over again, that's when it's time for you to leave. Because if you stay stuck at a job just for the money, you're gonna end up being miserable, because the money's not never gonna feel like it's enough for you, and you're gonna have to keep on working overtime. Like, my minimum wage was $20 an hour, and I was, after taxes, I was getting around $15 an hour, and it felt like so much pain, because it's like, I felt like once you get paid and you pay your bills, you have nothing left over for your bills. For you, you only had a little bit of money left. And plus, I was spending almost $35 a day just to go to work, because I had to take the train from my house to go there. You had to pay for train expenses, food. I was making around $125 a day, but then I was spending $35 a day. So that means I was taking home $70 from an 8-hour shift. There was no money in there. So that's why I felt like I got so sad, because it's like, I don't want to work like this for the rest of my life. I felt like I was a slave, because the managers weren't doing shit. They weren't doing anything. I'm sorry to curse, but they weren't doing anything at work. They would literally stay on their phone, and if something goes wrong, that's exactly when they would do stuff. And I hated that. And these managers got paid 10 times more than you. We're getting paid 20. A lead supervisor was getting paid $21, but they were doing the same job that I was doing. They just did extra work. And it's like the supervisors after them got way more. But to each your own. But that's why I try not to just put all my eggs into one basket from one job from here on out. Like, when I got there, my mindset was milk the cow as much as you can and take whatever you can before it's time for you to go, whether you leave or you get fired. I wanted to leave way since the beginning. But I guess I had to keep on staying there to realize the faith of my existence at that job. Because once I saw that guy die at the job, that's when it really hit my heart to tell me that I needed to go, because I didn't want to be put in a position where I had to see somebody die again on the clock, or pass out on the clock, like overwork themselves on the clock. But this is just a quick story time on how I got fired from my job. I hope you like this video and you watch it all the way through to the end. I truly appreciate your support. Send this to a friend if you feel as if you're relatable to this type of content. Thank you, and have a good one. Let's go.